Welcome back, YouTube. Boone Headshot here, and today we're talking about Plus 14 Theater. This will be we'll be actually talking about the dungeon as we go through it, in between the synth wave. As you just saw there, we did the shroud skip, brought the Bloodborne in. If your party does not have a soothe, you are the safety net with Shiv. You can see it went out there, and it goes down pretty quick. From there, going into this fight, you have 3 different enemies all doing something annoying. I am on Desia. I find that of the 3, Desia is the one that is the most deadly with the unavoidable damage that comes out. Saethel is the one with the circles that you just saw, and as long as you are spreading correctly, when those come out, they won't kill anybody. If you're stacked when Saethel's cast comes out, then it will be game over for you. But Desia, I think, is the most deadly because of that unavoidable damage, and so that's usually my target, unless the party has already talked about wanting to kill one specifically over the other. So just keep that communication open with your team. So one thing to be mindful of here as an Assassination rogue, your Death Stalker's mark. When these targets die, they don't actually die, so you're not going to get credited with a kill to your hero talent minigame where you get your marks. So when one is about to die, make sure you're saving Darkest Night for a new target. It can be easy to overlook. I do it most of the time, but sitting here talking about it, as you can see, that target just died, and I no longer have a mark. I don't have a vanish either to get my mark back. So depending on how much health that last target has, you could see some significant DPS loss because you don't have that bonus damage coming out from your mark. But bosses go down pretty easily, and now we are waiting through the roleplay. This dungeon has some of the most roleplay in it, and the timer reflects that, so longer timer, but a lot of standing around doing nothing. We choose to start in the PvP wing. There are some tricks that you can do to skip the mini bosses here after this first one, and you'll see us put that to work. In so doing, that means that you pretty much have to clear a good portion of the Agony Wing. That is the wing with all of the platforms where you can choose to go left or right. If you do choose to do the skips, make sure that it is coordinated before everything starts. You don't want half the party thinking we're skipping and the other half not, because there are trigger points as you move through the doorway to the first boss. So a lot of people don't realize where those trigger points are. That is something that you should be checking out. We have it marked with a blue square right now. If you go past that marker, you will trigger the mini boss to move and then become a target. You have a brief moment during the roleplay of the next mini boss killing off one another, and then walking and waiting for you, as you are about to watch here. With movement speed, you can run by them while they are untargetable and completely skip them. You can do that with both of these. So this little mini pack here, Captain, needs to die first. You can use evasion to dodge some of the shots coming out from the arbalists. Got very close to dying right there, as you saw, as they both shot me, and that reminded me to actually use evasion. So make sure you go into this pack with it running. You can use all kinds of stuns too to stop that damage going out. And again, you see the next marker where we are stacking up. With a countdown timer and coordination, you can run past this boss too. This will save loads of time in the long run, allowing for more mistakes to happen or unforeseen accidents. As we start this boss, at this level, you pretty much need to be ready with cooldowns on the banner. As we are coming out of our subterfuge window against him, you still have a couple seconds of it when that first banner comes out to apply some empowered garrotes to him. Make sure that you are getting that off without having to waste a vanish to do so. With us being assassination rogues, our damage ramp time is pretty slow. And because we're so slow, just about anybody else should be killing you to get back up to the platform. So the banner comes out. Cooldowns are going out. At least Vanish went out to reapply those empowered bleeds. You want that banner gone before the boss begins his mechanics here. Otherwise, you are slow and you will die. And the fight after that is pretty rinse and repeat. He has 3 mechanics that you see there. They come out randomly, and then the banner will pop back out, as well as him picking 2 new DPS targets to go down. And again, we are lucky. We get to stay up. Lucky Rogue. That lucky shirt is paying off. That's not actual advice. I don't know if the shirt actually helps you with certain situations anymore. But we still wear it. So make sure that you have all of your bleeds out. Again, it is important. You do get your mark back if you use it on the banner. You do get energy back if you have Rupture on the banner. So make sure at least one of those is happening so that you can keep pumping out the damage. We are in our execute phase for the boss, so Vanish went out with powerful bleeds going. If you have your empowered garrote for the banner, you can pretty much solo it before your allies get back. Makes it pretty helpful so that they can come down and not have to worry about immediately having to run. Execute phase is great. Use your shivs, link them together for big bleed damage. as you start Gorechop's Wing, this is a pretty big add pull. There's not a lot of big add pulls through this dungeon. There's a couple sections, but this is a good one. Cooldowns are going to start going out. You're going to see Cloak go out so that I can maintain uptime on the priority target without having to run away from those circles. And everything starts to go down pretty quickly. Mage got off some really good barrages, as you can see him just running away with this pole. But the casters are a pain. They jump around, they cast. You can use stuns to lock them down once they're in a good spot. You might have to shadow step to them to get them interrupted to bring them back to the group as well. But they're pretty manageable. It's not the worst. After this pull, we do some sneaky maneuvers around a gas bag that you can skip and move down to the second level as we approach the boss. You can, as long as you are careful, you can use Distract to put the gas bag in a position where he won't be looking at the party and he won't move for 10 seconds. So Distract is your friend here if one of your team is falling behind and not going to make it through before the patrol turns around. So you can see us kind of looking to see which way is the best way to go. And looks like I do not use Distract here, but you will see me on stream throwing Distracts depending on where the group is, whether they're put together. And now we actually have to fight the gas bag. He has a frontal and I guess a rearward that comes out both ends. So you have to be careful with how you position him. If you choose to fight the gas bag on the bridge, positioning is key so that he does not wipe the entire party with that mechanic, because it will almost cover the entire bridge. And if you are pinched from circles going out or having to move, it can most certainly kill you. As you're seeing here, things start to get a little tight as we are finishing off his health. Cloak of Shadows went out there out of sheer panic. I am trying to get my mark back from that horror before we start the boss. I want the mark on the boss and to give him the most damage from all the other targets, because you're going to be switching targets a bunch here. As an assassination rogue running the bleed build for this, you're going to get bleeds out on both of the leftover parts every time the chain mechanic happens. So cheat death just went off there as I believe both adds jumped to me. So got a little unlucky there. But ideally, you save your vanishes for whenever you've got a good chance to get all of your bleeds back on all three targets rapidly, as well as cooldowns going out so that you can get the most out of your caustic spatter. So pay attention to when your group is actually grouped up and decide when or when is not a good time to use those cooldowns. I see a good opportunity here as these groups, or excuse me, as these adds are starting to get grouped up here. My cooldowns are coming back. I have Vanish. I know that I'm going to have a good opportunity to use them soon. I'm watching for that health to get to about the halfway part before I vanish and try to get those improved growths out. There they are now, and those ads will just drop pretty quickly because of it. That is also a big help for the healer. That's less damage going out from them jumping around. That's less chances for somebody to just instantly die. So big takeaway here is to look for those opportune moments to make the most out of your toolkit. And the rest of this is just kind of rinse and repeat here. Bleed all of the targets. Get as many ruptures going as you can. Get a max hit Crimson Tempest out. That's going to be 3 targets ideally, because they should be dying before the next group of leftovers come out, or getting pretty close. You might get an opportunity like what you're seeing here to get a max damage Tempest going. That is a Crimson Tempest that hits 5 targets, but those will be few and far in between. Big gathering phase here. You want to let the tank get everything grouped up. You can actually help the tank, as you're about to see here. I'm using tricks. I can beat the tank to him, and I can bring the ad back to the tank using tricks of the trade. So once everything's in position, it is time for the big cooldown spams. Death mark's gone out. You can use vanish here once the health starts to get low. Get as many of those improved garrotes going. Get a shiv going, and start dropping the ads. As a rogue, try to go through this last. You don't want to go through it first and just get beaten to death by all of the ads as they come out. Sometimes you might get a split second if you're spamming stealth to get back into stealth to reset your subterfuge window. You may not have the opportunity to transfer a mark through these portal phases, so just be mindful of that. That you may not get stealth back. You might have to burn a vanish. Now, that Magus, even though he starts with half health, can still one-shot somebody. His cast has to be managed correctly, or somebody will easily go down. If you've got anybody that can strip that shield, that will make it that much faster to kill him. So make sure that you are set up to do so. Now, because we skipped those mini bosses, we have to pretty much pull everything on these platforms. It should also go without saying that there can be a bug with skipping those bosses with champions that have pets. So looking at Death Knights, looking at Hunters, looking at Warlocks. Sometimes the portal moving around can, for some reason, bug out the pets. When the pets snap to you, they can trigger those mini bosses. I think it's something to do with like the pathing that we can't see happening behind the curtain. But that is just something to be mindful of. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So you could just be having a pretty easy run, and then suddenly there's those mini bosses from the PvP wing that we skipped suddenly on your platform. So that can happen here, it can happen at the final boss. So it's unfortunate that that happens, but it is something to keep in mind that it could happen, and it might wipe you. As we move into this boss, lots of orbs that spin around. You have to make sure that you do not get hit by them, and as well as the debuff that makes a player into an orb too. So you can pinch yourself or your allies if you're not careful. There is an add phase. You will see those green arrows go over everybody's heads. You need to stack on one side or another. They will spawn on the perimeter and walk in slowly to the boss, which will wipe you if they get there. So save your vanishes, get all your bleeds out as quickly as you can, get a shiv going, and then you back to the boss. Go back to the boss and let your bleeds do the work there. They will go down pretty quickly as long as you've got a vanish to quickly get all of those bleeds going. You can abuse sudden demise here very easily. With the timing of those adds, you will get to use vanish twice. There will be an add phase where you won't have vanish, and you'll have to utilize your bone spike and only maybe toss out 2 or 3 ruptures before switching back to the boss, because the bleeds will still kill the adds, quickly, but you won't get as good of a phase like you're seeing now with vanish going out. So it's vanish, bleeds, shivs, and back to the boss. Your job is done once they're all bleeding. You can save cloak for the add phase as well. If there is an orb that is going to go straight through those adds, you can cloak through it to maintain uptime and get your bleeds rolling quickly. So here is the phase where vanish is still cooling. Bit more hands-on, but once they all start to get lower health, you can switch back to the boss. Okay, so if you guys ran your route right, you should be finishing out your enemy forces with this pack of 3. Those are left up at the beginning so that you can kill them now during this introduction phase where the boss is coming out and you can't do anything. So if the caster's down, then you can run these 2 guys into the boss and just start with a couple adds up. It's good for funnel. Gets you going with a head start on the damage going out. What you can do as a rogue here, and I don't believe I do it just because I get the timing off in my head, but if you throw Cloak of Shadows before she begins casting the circle that will spawn that'll spawn the ghost, if you cast Cloak of Shadows before that, you will completely negate one of the ghosts coming out, which is a big help to the party. I was slow to realize it and did not happen here, but keep that in the back of your mind for whenever you're running this place and start practicing it to make it easier on everybody. Good rule of thumb is to just stay on her tail. Make sure that you are out of her frontal cone. Things are about to get a little hectic at 50% when the ghosts start coming out. A lot to watch. Your vanishes should be saved for the add phase here to get yourself going with a max damage Crimson Tempest, as well as utilizing Sudden Demise to get rid of those adds quickly. Here comes phase 2, where now we have to watch out for ghosts fighting on the platform, as well as ghosts that will charge across the platform. Either one of these will kill you, in addition to her frontal. So there's a lot of positioning to be looking for. There are the ghosts that are about to charge. It is better to stay off of the boss here versus dying. So pay attention to the way she's facing. Pay attention to where those ghosts are going to run across. And if you have to sit on the far side like you saw me, just to ensure that you are staying alive, because you can't DPS when you're dead. Vanish goes out, bleeds go out on these adds, and they disappear pretty quickly. Small mistake there made by a couple of us that I was just talking about. I must have been a little too close to her frontal. It clipped me. But my cheat was off cooldown, so we survived that mistake. That is going to be pretty much everything to talk about for this dungeon. This fight is just, it's very positional. You have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. Spin your camera around, make sure you're in a safe spot, and she'll go down pretty easy. But that's pretty much it for this dungeon, guys. I'll see ya on the next one.